Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C., calling your attention once again to Tarpley.net. In particular, Surviving the Cataclysm. If you don't master that book, you're not sophisticated in what's going on in front of you right now. You can hardly act politically. Reading that book, described recently by a friend as a life-changing experience for the better. Be a sophisticated political leader, and arm yourself, therefore, with an overview of what's going on. Now, who in Europe might do something? We now see that the European interbank lending process has frozen. It's seizing up. Every bank wonders about every other bank. How much Greek exposure do they have? How much of the fire of the Greeks is going to come down on their head? How much Portuguese exposure do they have? How much Spanish? How much Banco Santander? And all the rest of it. There's also a long list of European entities. We've talked about them. The Portuguese state railways and other things like this. They're all under hedge fund attack. They're all crashing down in terms of these bonds. The Greeks now have to pay about 20% to borrow money. Most people would say this is a death spiral. Greece, Portugal, and Spain, certainly, and perhaps some others, are in a death spiral right now. It's a little bit like Lehman Brothers. With Lehman Brothers, it went on for some months. You'll remember from March to September, basically, everybody was thinking after Bear Stearns goes down, Lehman Brothers is next. Well, it's now Greece, Portugal, Spain, and the others, Ireland, Italy, come somewhat down the road. France is not invulnerable either. 67% of their GDP is equal to their national debt. Therefore, is there anybody in Europe with any brains? Merkel, you can forget. Merkel is just pathetic. Trichet also seems to be feckless. Trichet should have been in there buying Greek bonds and offering 0% credit for production only. No new lending facilities, no new term asset facility and European bond asset facility and all the rest of this stuff. We've had enough of 0% credit for finance oligarchs. We want 0% credit for producers, for automobile industry, computer industry, for infrastructure, for the European space program, European aeronautics, and so forth. Don't need any more 0% credit for BNP Paribas, Société Générale, Deutsche Bank, Dresdner Bank, Commerzbank, all the rest of these characters, Unicredito. No more 0% credit for them. They should take their chances on this market that they'd say they love so much. Who has brains? Well, we know Berlusconi has some brains. Whether his ideology is so paralyzing in terms of this free market stuff, this we will soon find out. But now let's look at Sarkozy, and I'm not kidding. Sarkozy has been posturing now for months that he's the big enemy of wild capitalism, speculators, and the excesses of the Anglo-Saxon model. He's trying to save himself from his tremendous unpopularity. So Sarkozy, at a recent gathering of these European leaders, was overheard, and I'm quoting here, this is the Charlemagne column in the London Economist, the current issue, the Acropolis Now issue of the London Economist. Charlemagne writes, Sarkozy of France was heard vowing resolute action against the, quote, speculation targeting Greece, close quote. Yves Mersch, the central bank governor of Luxembourg, denounced increasing speculation on the capacity of Greece to honor its debt, which, according to this Luxembourg central bank governor, is out of all proportion to the healthy functioning of the markets. European Commission not happy with Standard & Poor's for downgrading Greek long-term debt to junk status. Barroso, do something. Shut down Standard & Poor's. They're a criminal enterprise. They're a RICO base, racketeer-influenced and corrupt organization. Based on their track record, they fail. They're whatever else they are, they're a failure. French pro-business newspapers, we're not told which by the London Economist, have carried headlines saying, the markets attack Portugal. That's correct, the markets. Speculators, investors, because remember, we know who those investors are. Their names are Soros, and Soros, and the rest of his gang, this wolf pack of hedge funds. So now, Sarkozy, time to put your money where your mouth is. Here's what I recommend. We have had enough of these bailouts. We don't need more 0% lending to these insolvent European zombie banks, because that's what they are. These people, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, Societe Generale, got money out of the AIG settlement. Let's not forget it. 8 to 10 to 12 billion for some of them. We need a process of orderly debt moratorium. This is what I recommended for Iceland last autumn, September to October. Iceland needs a debt moratorium. Latvia needs a debt moratorium. A whole bunch of other countries, we'll go through the list again in a minute. We need some large country, it could be the U.S., except we have no president worth the name. It could be Japan, they won't do it. It could be Putin, this is certainly possible. It could be China, except they're ideologically incapable. Putin could do this, but let's focus on the Europeans. Lula could do it. Lula of Brazil. Again, too much in the pocket of the International Monetary Fund, I fear, despite all of his posturing. We'll see now who's in the pocket of the IMF, okay? Lula, if you want to prove that you're not in the pocket of the IMF, then debt moratorium for Brazil. This has been done before. 35 to 40 countries have gone to debt moratorium and or de facto default over the past several decades. It includes Mexico 1982, debt moratorium. It includes Brazil 1987, debt moratorium, one of the real causes of the crash of 1987, by the way. And it includes Argentina under Rodriguez Sá in 2001. The results of these debt moratoria depend on the quality and the determination and the resolution of the political leadership to use the debt moratorium as a bludgeon to make the bankers get reasonable and get real, accept huge write-downs in their illegitimate debt. Someday we'll go through why the debt is illegitimate. Don't know if we can get to that today. Anyway, we need somebody to come forward and call for a debt moratorium for the principal European victims of the hedge fund hyenas. Back in a minute.